A recurring compliment thrown towards director Alexander Payne is that he makes the kind of films that hardly get made at a mainstream level, broadly categorized as adult-oriented character studies that are funny, tender, and poignant. This is especially true of his upcoming boarding school set dramedy, The Holdovers. Early reviews cite it as a refreshing throwback, a time capsule of a film that appears to be transported from the 1970s. Payne confirmed in an interview with Collider's Stephen Weintraub that he has been trying to capture the vibe and aesthetic of the decade throughout his entire career. While he possesses a crowd-pleasing streak in his oeuvre, Payne excels in genre and character subversion, and nowhere is this more evident in his 2004 masterpiece, Sideways, the picture that defies all expectations of the road trip comedy. Sideways depicts flawed men who can't get out of their own way. Payne's Oscar-winning film, based on a novel of the same name by Rex Pickett, follows a week-long bachelor trip in Santa Barbara wine country for Jack, Thomas Hayden Church, thrown by his friend, Miles Paul Giamatti, who is reuniting with Payne in The Holdovers. Jack is an actor past his prime, who is set to be married in a week. Miles is a depressed middle school English teacher and failed novelist, who is recently divorced. The juxtaposition of Miles and Jack's marriage status is represented in their outlook on life. Jack can only live for the moment and the wondrous potential of the future, while Miles is forever fixated on past emotional traumas. Along the way, Jack engages in infidelity with a local wine pourer, Stephanie Sandra O, and Miles romantically connects with a fellow divorcee, Maya Virginia Madsen. When he is at his lowest, Miles takes comfort in his fervid passion for wine, particularly Pinot Noir, but definitely not Merlot, from the get-go. Upon the introduction of Miles, who is seen hungover, lying to Jack on the phone, and completing a New York Times crossword puzzle while driving, Payne dispenses any notion that these characters are meant to be liked. Jack, who is good-natured at heart, succumbs to being unfaithful to his fiancée and maintains a college student's quest for debaucherous behavior. The director, with his frequent co-writer, Jim Taylor, undercuts the indulgence of bachelor fantasies by punishing his characters, both physically and emotionally. Upon the inadvertent disclosure of Jack's marriage, Stephanie beats Jack's face to a pulp and is forced to wear a heavy bandage on his nose. Needing to concoct a cover story for his broken nose, Jack stages a car accident by driving Miles' car into a tree, which leaves the vehicle nearly totaled. When Miles is given the heartbreaking news on the phone that his novel will not be published, he showers himself with the refuse from a spit bucket at a winery in rage, causing a massive stain on his shirt in the chest area, resembling blood. Audiences recognize, especially in Miles' case, that these two are emotionally stunted. While this trip was designed as a cleansing process for Miles' depression and a last hurrah for Jack, Sideways reaches an outcome suggesting that neither of them is validated. Thanks to Giamatti's brilliantly vulnerable and sympathetic performance, it is easy to feel bad for Miles as the misunderstood, tortured genius. He could capitalize on his expertise and glowing passion for wine as a profession, but he refuses. He could follow through on a potential romantic relationship with Maya, who seems to connect with him at a spiritual level, as demonstrated in her monologue about the majestic beauty of Pinot Noir. However, he is too emotionally frozen and averse to commitment. Miles and Jack, with the latter's compromised state of being a frequent troublemaker, are the makers of their own inevitable demise. Alexander Payne's preference for cynical character studies. You just can't help but pity the central characters in Sideways. Payne's biting examination of aimless, middle-aged men with a lackluster showing in life is a continuation of his work in Election and About Schmidt. He operates in a genre that invites saccharine stories about self-growth, but make no mistake, all of his films are defined by their varying degrees of downbeat cynicism. Payne's inherently non-cinematic approach to character arcs complements his ambition to make films of the 70s New Hollywood milieu. His films evoke the work of Hal Ashby, Peter Bogdanovich, Milos Forman, and other filmmakers of the decade who specialized in character studies of emotionally jaded people. The universally celebrated films of this cinematic period thrived in genre and character subversion. They sought to expose a dark core at the heart of the most unsuspecting people and places in America. Payne extracting loneliness and melancholy from wine snobs is tremendous insight.